From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 231 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of chapters of our lives from the point of view that is somewhere in the middle, and we're also in the middle of the country. This week, we talk about the care emoji on Facebook. Of all things, we figured out a way to talk about a very small component of a social media outlet, and we have fun doing it. And Corey, everything he does is perfect, and his rows are paved in gold, and his fan art indeed was found right behind Bobby Lee's head. Meanwhile, Dylan takes a creamy shower, and then we talk about apathetic servers and golf carts. After the break, we're talking about the stupidest pie chart you've ever heard of. We're talking about the most outlandish F1 race that has ever occurred. And then we're talking about some films, including some of the most disturbing films that we've ever seen. Enjoy.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole. I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it?
You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the Middle after dark over here.
Kendall, I know you're not on Facebook a lot, so feel free to tune out for this one, but we do need your unbiased opinion. I feel like my beloved brother Dylan is misusing the care reaction. So every time I post something personally, I post something from my Hubble Arts page. Be sure to follow at Hubble Arts, HUBBELLARTS on all the socials, or post something from our From the Middle page. Dylan gives it the old care reaction. And the way I read that is like, oh, it's like a placating sort of like sympathy reaction.
So what you're hearing is like a, I care.
I hear it as like oh, look at you with your little post.
It's a,
for some
it's
reason,
a bless
it's
your heart
demeaning.
is what it is.
It's what? It's a bless your heart. Yeah.
What does the care reaction look like?
I'll tell you, and it'll help illustrate how I use it.
Okay.
It is an emoji who lovingly, heavily latches onto a little heart and hugs to his little emoji's content, and then looks down at it so lovingly again, and then pulls the heart back in close.
Oh, okay.
And it is very much a, hey, I care about what you care about.
That's so douchey.
No, it's not. We need the GIF. Play the GIF. Play the GIF of the cares. That matters. That's context.
Is this an official GIF?
It is. It's the GIF of the.
I mean, like, is this supposed to be informative from?
Look,
oh,
look how much he loves it, and he squeezes it, and it's like my daughter with her stuffies. That's how he's looking.
I feel like if it's preferably female, but it's 2023, and men can have emotions too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're called men anymore. I'm confused. I don't know how any of this works.
How do you mean it, Dylan?
I mean it like there may be one of the other reactions that is a clear emotion, doesn't feel like the right response. I'm not laughing over it. I'm not. Hold on. Let me hold the button. It's not a love. It's not a love thing. It's not that I love it. It's not that I'm laughing at it. I'm not saying wow or sad or angry. It's like if you post a cool, or if you post something interesting, maybe it's a wow. And sometimes sometimes it's just like, and I care about that. I appreciate that you posted that thing because I find that interesting.
Is there no longer just a thumb?
There is. Maybe that's what's bothering me. There's like and
Why
love
aren't you just using
right
the thumb?
there.
What you just described as a thumb.
Because I need to find a post that I feel like elicits the care, but it's like it's more than a like to me, but it's not a love, and it's not an angry or a laughing, and it's not a wow. It's like I care. This is interesting.
You
still
said
feel
in
like
your head,
the heart, the care emoji is closer to what you're feeling than the thumb.
Yeah.
Like you said, though, you use the phrase, I care about what you care about. Something that my children don't like when my wife says is, I'm excited that you're excited.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, so you're just not excited. You don't care. It's not that. It's not that because of how you said it, because of the tone. But if you look at that little GIF, I've never seen an emoji care so much about squeezing a heart. And I think that's important that people know that.
Midlers, we need you to weigh in here. How do you read internally? How do you read the care emoji? Is it like is it like a somehow demeaning little, that's nice, a pat on the head? It's the equivalent of a pat on the head to me.
I think care is a really good one anytime somebody brings up like something very sentimental. Like, this Christmas movie's on. I used to always watch this with my grandma every year before she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to.
Maybe
100%.
Feels too cheap.
Maybe it's Dylan expressing the loving interest, that he wishes he would have received from his older brother. Maybe that's what it is.
There it is.
His older brother, who gets everything right, has all the friends and the connections.
Nope.
And is well traveled.
How many musicals did you lead? How many songs did you solo on?
Well, here's something that you can care react to. So as a follow-up to something that happened a handful of episodes back, I got the opportunity to go see the Bad Friends podcast live in Cleveland. We've talked about this. Dylan can maybe tell us which episode that was here in a second. But I told the funny story of me going backstage with a meet and greet pass and giving them some framed fan art. So I made 6 prints. Bobby and Andrew each got one. I gave myself the third that they signed, and I had 3 extras. And my goal was to maybe sell those on the Bad Friends fan page on Facebook.
222.
222. Thank you very much. So I ended up selling 2 of those. One of the 2 guys that I sold one of the prints to said, dude, your fan art is on the podcast set. And there's not always a guest. There's not always a third person or fourth person. But when there is, there's these 2 inflatable chairs on an opposite side of the room. And when the camera pans over there, not pans, or just when they go to that shot, you can kind of see it off to the side. Today is Monday, November 20th. Today, while watching the episode, I noticed they moved it to right behind Bobby.
Yeah.
Look at
it's
that.
It's a good day.
So I was like, that's fun.
Your loaded wallet full of money couldn't have bought you that kind of product placement. I mean, your art is right there, and right under the belly by the weird little spot that's poking out is your logo, is your name. If somebody was watching and zoomed in and hit zoom and enhance enough, they could see Hubble Arts on there.
I was so excited to see that today, and thought it was an interesting follow-up from that story of me with the horrific delivery, embarrassing myself while meeting them. But anyway.
Also, can I just say, I know you would have done this correctly, But if you're not on YouTube, you didn't just see what Corey shared. So you should subscribe to our YouTube and then you can go check it out. Your art was beside other art for the show, and all the colors just matched perfectly. The purples, the oranges, brilliant, brilliant job. It looks like official show like decor that they would have created just to put up behind them.
Yeah.
It fits in flawlessly. So well executed.
So can I count that as a verbal care reaction?
Yeah. Do you know why? Because if I just would have went like that wouldn't have felt like enough. I needed you to feel the squeeze of the little emoji. I maybe don't love it. I don't care that much. This isn't pizza, but like it's more than just like it. You know, that's like your uncle scrolling
I
through.
I feel like the emoji hugging a heart is a step above just a heart.
Oh.
No, let's not.
I feel like okay, I'm about to, as someone who could care less about Facebook emojis, I'm gonna gatekeep them. I feel like the care emoji is only appropriately correctly used when referring to puppies, photos of puppies,
Okay.
or photos or stories of small children, especially of those whom you know, and most appropriate when given by a female.
You're close.
Anything outside of that is sarcasm.
It's close. The care one is used on stories and pictures about kids when you're pretending that you care about other people's stories and pictures of their children.
In those cases, it could be sarcasm, but hidden because they wouldn't necessarily guess that it was sarcasm.
Yeah.
But you would know in your heart that it was sarcasm.
I hear you.
So that is my gatekeeping decision.
You're not wrong.
And I appreciate your could care less. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
By the time this comes out, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Hopefully you're enjoying some time with family over some good food.
Watching the lions bite kneecaps off of people.
Lots of potatoes with skins on, mixed in, lumpy.
Or creamy, whatever.
One of our favorite middlers pointed out that we neglected to ask our guests last week how they
it
like
was a
their
food
potatoes.
Guest too.
Shame on us, but
we're the worst.
Go back and listen to that episode. We had a great conversation. If you missed it, it was a great conversation with pizza nerds, owner operator, our friend Dylan, Brent Gargis, because you called him Brett at one point. I thought Brett Gargis. Great episode. And in the second half of that episode, we said, tell us about a scene in television or film that makes you hungry. That could be a fun game to play with your family around the table for Thanksgiving. Thanks, Brent. Great conversation. Good time. Go check
indeed.
That out. Episode 2.
If you guys need something, at least anything to change the topic at that awkward Thanksgiving dinner, just throw that out there. Hey, what movies and films have you seen food in? That made you crave.
I was listening to this podcast that you all should download every episode of. Here, I brought you stickers. They just asked a question, and I thought you all might want to weigh in, and then we could leave them all separate, but equally good quality voicemails that they could respond to. That'd be great if you just happen to think of that in time for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Did you guys have good weekends? Are you excited about Thanksgiving? What's on your minds?
Very good. Interesting. I just learned a fact that I thought that you all might find interesting. Did you know that you can slap a care emoji on this when you're done? Did you know that the Mortal Kombat theme song, I just learned, is actually a hymn? It's based on a Scandinavian hymn. Did you know that?
No.
A Finnish hymn. It's
wonderful. I'm like half Finnish.
Yeah.
And I should have known this, I feel like.
Yeah, you should have.
Did Kendall just miss that dad joke?
I've heard that dad joke before.
Okay.
Okay.
You blew past that so quickly.
So
I was
quick.
like, he missed it. Oh, man, you and your deadpan delivery. I cannot figure you out, sir.
But seriously, speaking of creamy,
I met Dylan's deadpan delivery with more deadpan delivery is all I did.
yeah.
Anyway,
Speaking of creamy,
finish it.
Speaking of creamy, I've got a normally
Deadpan
would be a
delivery.
problem.
Speaking of,
Normally it would be a problem. My water is creamy. It turns out I love it. If you buy the right filters, you can have creamy water too. That's not a joke. That's I have to describe.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's the sad thing.
You do. Okay. What do you think I'm talking about?
I'm thinking of like really soft water.
That's right. So we got a water filter system. And the gentleman who helped us with it, our local plumber guy, he said his wife described the first few times that she used their new water system and used it to shower and whatever. She described it as creamy. She didn't have a better way to describe the water than creamy.
I thought she said buttery.
No, it's creamy.
I like creamy better.
I think when my wife told the
now.
story, she misspoke. It's creamy. And I was trying to describe, I was trying to come up with something. I'm like, surely I can come up with something better than creamy. So I'm trying to describe how it feels, and I can't, as I'm showering, and I can't come up with anything better than I'm thinking to myself, okay, so when you shower and your water's hard, it sort of feels like it bounces off of you a little bit. And not that you're water repellent, but it kind of like like water off a duck. It feels like this just feels like it's soaking in. But I'm not saying I'm a superhero now either. I'm not absorbing water for my own like increased power levels. But it does feel like it's making a few stops along the way down, right? So it's like hanging out a little bit and absorbing into my skin, but it's not all absorbing into. I can't come up with a better way to describe it. And I'm thinking, I just think the wife tried to come up with something that had nothing, and the word creamy popped in her head because I really couldn't for the life of me. But turns out it makes a big difference, not only in flavor of water to have a whole house water filtration system, but also in the experience that you have when you're showering and how fuzzy your hair looks. That's a good problem and a bad problem, as it turns out. So that's what I'm dealing with. All these mixed emotions, mostly care emoji level. Sometimes fuzzy hair is the angry emoji because I don't know how to style it. But creamy really is probably the best word at this point. So if you want creamy water in a good way, DM us. We can talk about. This is not a paid ad. We're not going to get if you buy a water filter.
Can I just say your hedging during that update was the best? At one part, it was, I'm not saying I'm a duck. And then another part, you said, I'm not saying I'm a superhero.
Yeah, because that's what I found. The more I tried to describe the benefits of the system, the worse I am at it, which is abnormal for me because normally finding concise words is something I'm good at. There's not. The water just stops along the way more than it did. And it's not bouncing off me like a duck. So
talking to you about that last week was the second conversation I've had in the last couple of weeks about the softness or hardness of water. Our neighbors with the chickens, the ones that we like, just kidding, everybody else. Their water was too creamy and they needed to have their water filtration system removed because it was too creamy,
too pure, little ranch like is what you're saying.
And they said they felt like they could never get the water off of them, like
interesting,
a sliminess factor almost. Like,
yeah, that's not a water filtration. That's like a different problem.
And then I realized as they were talking, this is not something I've ever thought about ever.
I think this is the equivalent. This is my equivalent of your bidet. I think that's what this is.
Okay.
You had never thought about nor cared about until you had the experience. And I'm just going, sure, we're going to drink cleaner. because here's part of the pitch, right? Cleaner water. Think about what water with a lot of minerals and stuff does to your clothes over time, what you drink, the pipes. It wears down the pipes faster. So it's like better for the water-based infrastructure of your home and the faucets and the shower thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, cleaner water. Yeah, your dishwasher and everything keeps going through your dishwasher. Even the install guy said, yeah, somebody has a fridge that dispenses water. I've just started hooking this up to their fridge too and bypass. You don't have to do the filters in your fridge anymore. You just run this water directly into the fridge, and then you can bypass that too. And so, like, it all makes sense, like this is your bidet though. So I was like sold on like, this sounds good. Let's do that. Lots of benefits, good for your skin, good for your hair. If we notice any of those things, it'll be good. If it's not just a big pitch. And if you notice several, yeah.
If you had a Tushy bidet installed in your home, you're telling me you'd have a creamy bunghole.
Yes. I'm not saying it's ranch dressing level like your neighbors, where it's a little greasy and a little too creamy, but it would feel extra clean. The water feeling would linger a little. It wouldn't beat off me like a duck, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we're going hard in the paint on this one.
So anyways, that's what's going on with me. And I've watched some stuff, which we can talk about at the end. The only other thing that I was going to ask about, because we've talked so much about, especially the increased amount of like mobile apps and pickup orders and curbside orders and whatever. And as we are going back out to eat a lot more and enjoying all of that kind of stuff, the one thing I don't know that we've talked about, and I experienced it tonight, so it kind of reminded me of it to bring it up. I don't know what to do with the apathetic and almost rude servers. I instantly felt the energy when our server came to our table tonight, and I knew it was off. And it was like, this person's having a bad day. I could feel it before they spoke a word. And I instantly felt like I had to bring more positive energy to the interaction than them. And I'm not getting paid. And they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that level of apathy when a little bit of their job, and it's a hard job. I'm not saying it's not. They might have been having a bad day. I get all the reasons. I've worked in food service in a different way. But I feel like a little bit of their job is to bring the show. A little bit is bring a little bit of, you don't have to smile and have 27.
It is a customer service job,
but it is a service job. A little bit of a half smile and a hey guys, how's your night going? Awesome. What can I help you? A little bit of that goes a really long way. And I don't know what to do. I feel like if you don't tip well because it's service, it validates the bad day they're having, or like I knew I shouldn't have cared about that table because they were bad tippers. And if you do tip well, it feels like the nice thing to do to like try to make their day better. But then you're like, but you didn't earn it. And I got to earn things at my job, and you didn't earn that at your job. So I don't know what to do with that. I'm throwing that out to you and anybody listening, because I don't know what to do with the apathetic service. Not mean, not bad, not flagrantly rude. Best case apathetic. Worst case, a little rude. A little bit.
Care goes a long way. And if you just show this apathetic person, give them a little pat, a proverbial pat on the old head, and say,
"Please."
You say, "Trisha, looks like you're having a tough day.
Let's just say her name was Micah. I don't know.
Let's work together here. Let's make the duration of our visit better. How can I do that for you? And let's talk maybe about some ways that you can do that for me. Maybe by slapping a smile on your face in this customer service position and give me some quality care."
Have you ever wanted to just start right away and go, "I'm sorry, did we do something to offend you already?" I feel like the already is the passive aggressive part, right?
Already
something to offend you. did we do something to offend you already? Because we just sat down. Like my kids being good. It's not that. We're not rude people. It's like when Jim and Pam are kind of auditioning for the preschool or the daycare, and it's like, no, we know we're likable. This isn't this is we're not being too much here. We haven't our kid didn't immediately spill chocolate milk all over the floor. That's not what happened here.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Oh, that's funny. Kendall, you with us, buddy? You're a little laggy over there, a little glitch-tastic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say no. Wait, are you there?
Kendall's trying to fix his landline.
Dylan, have I talked about golf carts in...
No, but I'd like one. If anyone has a hookup on a golf cart, I'm half joking. I'm half serious.
While we're wanting people to weigh in on things, and Kendall, feel free to come back to the apathetic servers. We can add this to the list. I need you guys' take on this. And I have to be careful because some people listen to this. There seems to be a trend in our neighborhood, or at least there was during the summer, that's still happening. Neighbors we're in a very small neighborhood. They're buying golf carts to go to like each other's houses and just cruise up and down the street as though this were like lakefront property and or a retirement community of which it is neither. And it's groups of friends that all live in the neighborhood, and they're just riding the golf carts to and from each other's houses for funsies. And my first reaction was that of annoyance. And then when one of them got a street legal one and can ride right across the street to Kroger, I actually thought that's pretty cool. Because now they're not using gas or anything. And it's street legal with mirrors and signals and a license plate, and they can just putz over to Kroger and come back real quick. That's thoughts on neighbors in your community. They've got their own little golf cart gang. Have we talked about this before? Because I feel like Kendall made a joke about me having a Harley at this point of the story.
No, I don't think we've talked about this before, but
Okay.
I noticed it in our neighborhood for the first time just a few weeks ago at trick or treat night.
Yeah.
And my immediate thought was, I love what you're doing and I'm jealous. So, and then I have friends who like went to one of their friends' neighborhoods, I think for trick or treating. And their friends in that neighborhood had a golf cart and they were golf carting around. And I'm intrigued. I grew up spending the bulk of my summers in a campground because that's just what we did. And at that campground, like a lot of golf, that's obviously a different atmosphere, different situation. But I always thought the golf cart thing was cool there. And then now to see it like in a neighborhood, I really like it. I really like it and I want to do it. And I didn't know that street legal golf carts were a thing. And then now I want one of those. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of envy is what that must be.
Maybe that's why it annoys me, because I'm just like, that looks fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, first answer is yes to what they're doing. Second, why in the scenario that you drew up for your example were the only two acceptable reasons to have a golf cart, either to view scenery, which you need eyes, not a golf cart, or you said like a scenic lake view. Why would it matter?
Because at a lake community, there's bait and tackle shops and restaurants and like especially now Airbnbs, or like there's a campground attached. I'm just saying it feels like at a lake community, you'd see people putzing around to go to the boat ramp and drop off the cooler and then come back. Like it makes more sense at a vacation destination, not the scenery. And then the other one I said was like retirement communities.
For the handy capable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Places like that are a little bit more let's use like city planning as a term
Makes
to
sense.
say it's more conducive to something like a golf cart versus suburban America, where like within your own neighborhood, maybe depending on the kind of neighborhood you're in. But as far as like driving across a state route to get to like a Kroger, obviously not great for that
Okay.
because we're not built for it. Here.
It's for the Del Boca Vistas of the world, is what I'm hearing.
Mm.
So, okay. Yes, love it. Saw it last year and this year at Halloween in our community. Seen some street legal ones go through the drive-thru at Taco Bell. Immediate pitch for me.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm like middle of summer, and it kind of it was somewhere between, if I had a roll cage and guns, this would be a G.I. Joe vehicle and a golf cart. So it was
I was just thinking, like, what is a golf cart other than like a watered down battery powered Jeep Wrangler with the top off?
There you go. Except $10,000 difference, or 40.
More than that.
Kendall,
Yeah.
I see you, since it's beat Itchigan week here in Ohio, I see you getting a navy blue one with the maize wing on the sides going back.
Oh yeah. The winged helmets on the
Yeah, I see you doing something like that.
Man, I would love that. Are you getting me that for Christmas?
And then you're gonna research like all kind of aftermarket cool things you can add to it.
Spinners.
Anyway, do you have thoughts on apathetic servers?
I do. I don't know what happened there with my whole situation, but
It's fine.
I guess I feel like Dylan and I are role reversing on this one because I don't care as long as like you get me my food and things are like swift and on time. Like when I think good service and I'm thinking about my tip, I'm not thinking about necessarily how nice they were. As a matter of fact, like make me talk less would be good. So I don't care so much if I get smiled at. Don't be rude to me. And but yeah, no, it's apathy. I'm not I guess I don't care about apathy. I'm also not one of these. Yeah.
I'm apathetic towards it, as a matter
I'm
of
apathetic toward apathy. I'm also not one of these people like it's your civic duty to go vote kind of people. It's like, oh, you didn't vote. I'm okay with that, and I don't think it takes away your right to complain. Like it's legitimate to not vote. Like it can be at least.
Okay. So I hear you.
So I'm okay.
My question is, the price that I pay for the food is the price that I'm paying for the food to be right.
Yes.
If I was doing curbside, the cost of the food would stay the same because no one is doing a service job. So once I go in, I'm still paying for the cost of the food, but then I'm tipping because of the level of service and thoughtfulness that the person is providing in delivering the food that should be right for the price that I'm paying for it.
I'm saying I want the server to like be ready when the food's ready and then get it to me like as quickly as you can. And give me refills when I need them. Don't make me ask for the refills. Like those kinds of, when I think good service, I'm thinking of that. That's what good service is to me.
I agree. When I feel like I'm hassling them, asking for things that they should be seeing and getting from me without asking me, that's when I'm saying you're still obviously getting a tip because I'm a human being, but it's not going to be above 20%. Like I normally, I'm not bragging, but like my minimum is kind of 20 for pretty good service or better.
Yeah.
And so now I'm questioning like, oh, maybe you're not even being,
I'm with you there.
You're not even being very thoughtful. Are you one of the people that I give like 15 to because you're not being very good at this?
I feel like I agree with what you just said. I think I was misunderstanding your point earlier.
Okay.
If they do all the things you just said and never smile at me and not even greet me, if they do all that quietly, perfect service.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't mind when I'm in a conversation at the dinner table and like somebody comes in and swaps my drink and never says a word, and then I just look down and I see a fresh drink. Love that. That's fantastic. Because all I really need for them, like you said, is to bring the food out fresh, make sure it's right, stay on top of the other stuff I shouldn't have to think about.
Right.
Like that's their job to think about it for me and just grab stuff that I might need, or say, hey, got a burger, fries. You want any condiments, or can I go grab you any condiments or anything before your food comes out? That way you're not sitting for 5 minutes while your food gets cold, waiting to ask me for condiments. That kind of stuff. Like I can bring it out with your food so it's ready to go, or bring it out beforehand. So that's the kind of stuff. If I have to ask for it and then me asking for it feels like it's a burden to you, that's when I'm like, I don't like how this makes me feel.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel good in my tum-tum.
I got you.
Or my wall.
All right, Midlers, that's a lot for you to weigh in on. We need your thoughts on the care reaction, the hardness or softness of water, golf carts in your neighborhood, and apathetic servers. And we'll be right back after we hear some words from some of our friends in Odd Pods Media.
Hi, I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
And we host the Muck Podcast, where we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics.
Hey, Tina, did you know that Elvis crashed the Nixon White House for the sole purpose of getting a DEA badge, and it worked?
What? Or how a gun control advocate senator out of California engaged in gun trafficking with notorious gang leader Shrimp Boy?
Shrimp Boy, I remember him. Okay, so, we cover all of that and more from maladies, madness, mischief, and murder in U.S. politics.
And we also host a bi-weekly interview segment called Lil Muck.
We interview politicians, journalists, activists, and others who share their experiences in politics.
Find the Muck Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and check us out on social media at the Muck Podcast.
So, guys, my wife has been asking me for weeks to bring up this article. I keep forgetting. And it got to the point that she sent it to Corey now as well.
I have it pulled up.
You have it pulled up and ready to go?
Yeah.
And I had to jump in and get to it before you did. It's important to me. It's from HuffPost. America's Thanksgiving pie preferences broken down by state.
Oh,
this sounds like the kind of list that we've done before.
I love it.
For all sorts of different things. However, is well, we'll just start off with this one. What would you guys guess is Ohio's pie of choice?
It's probably something stupid that I don't like.
You're not going to guess it.
I
want to hear what I want to hear is what the normal guesses would be.
Is it green bean casserole pie? Is that a thing?
No, it's not. It's nothing like that.
I haven't read the article. I'm going with apple.
Okay.
Are you saying we'll literally never guess it because it's inconceivable, or it's like it's just not the first thing you'll think of?
Yeah, it's not the first thing you'll think of. And I think if you were given 10 guesses, you probably wouldn't get to it.
10. Wow. That's nearly inconceivable. Okay.
Yes. But it's not like nothing you haven't heard before.
I was going to do it. I didn't do it. I was going to do it.
What would you get? Like, I would guess pumpkin. That would be my guess.
Well,
we're talking about Thanksgiving. This is talking about from apple to pumpkin to sweet potato. All the classic Thanksgiving pies are worth saving room for dessert. As Americans gear up for our most food-centric holiday, the folks at Google took a look at pie preferences across the U.S. They put together a map revealing the most uniquely searched Thanksgiving pies in every state and D.C.
I'm not convinced that articles like this are when your state gets a really bad response that isn't true. The writer of that article is from that state and either hates it or doesn't want more people moving there. And that's why they're like, oh God, I'd never move to Ohio if that's their favorite Thanksgiving pie. I'm going to say a chocolate pie.
Not even that. Butterscotch pie.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Lies.
Butterscotch pie. I have never had a butterscotch pie.
If you're listening,
this whole article is
Ohio. That's not true.
It is absolutely not true. This has to be butterscotch. I've never seen a butterscotch pie. I've never had a butterscotch pie. I've lived in Ohio for my entire life, minus a couple of years.
Our entire godforsaken Ohio lives have been spent here, and just kidding. And
And
none of us have ever had a butterscotch pie or
And
whatever.
here's the
it's
thing:
claimed.
you guys are from Northern Ohio. I am
Yeah.
from Central Ohio. My wife is from Southern Ohio.
Not a thing.
None of us.
And
None
Eastern
of us are
Ohio
like
doesn't
butterscotch
even
pie.
exist.
What is like? I assume
I-
this is a cream pie. But even more specifically, if you were to say, okay, take Thanksgiving out of the picture and just look at like pie sales throughout the whole year. So now you've got your rhubarb pies, you've got your Oreo pies, you've got whatever else. Butterscotch pie is still not anywhere on that list.
You know what I would have believed if you had said it? As boring as it is, if you had just said a sugar pie, I would have went, that's dumb, but I get it. But no, it's not butterscotch. That's not true.
Yeah,
Google's wrong.
this list is automatically.
It makes me not want to hear the other 49. And it makes me think that because it's so despicable, things get shared and get traction online because they're trolling is a thing. It makes me think that this HuffPost article is just to get a rise out of people from
getting
that one
trolled.
answer alone.
Yep. But here's what I want to do. I want to hear the other states, assume they're all accurate, and mock them for their choices. But I don't want to be held accountable for ours. So
Okay.
just to be clear.
So let's do Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan's pie of choice, according to this stupid article, is apple pie. A far more normal answer. I would expect like half of America to be answering either apple or pumpkin.
If we're just taking pumpkin and pecan out as the obvious answers for everybody,
And
I would have understood cherry for
Sure.
Michigan, that there'd
Yep.
be a lot of cherry pies.
There's a lot of cherries and there's a lot of apples in Michigan.
A lot of apples, a lot of cherries. Those would both make sense. I could even see in certain parts of the Midwest, maybe like a strawberry rhubarb being a very popular, like Midwestern pie.
Yep.
Okay. Apple, I get it.
There's one state that's all on its own. Pennsylvania. And I have no idea what the F this is. Shoe fly pie.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is? What is this?
Yeah. Isn't it like got like a chocolate puddingy kind of?
I don't know.
Shoe
Like
fly
a- like
pie
a-
is a type of American pie made with molasses associated with Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine.
No, never mind. I was wrong.
Sounds like something I should get into.
Molasses, shoe fly. I thought it was more of a chocolate base. I've probably just seen pictures and didn't know.
Maybe it's a
recipe.
chocolate and molasses situation.
So I feel like it's worth mentioning perhaps at this point. Kendall, you can slap me later if it's not.
I will.
I'm actually reading the second sentence of this article. And it says, as Americans gear up for our most food-centric holiday, the folks at Google took a look at pie preferences across the U.S. Specifically, they put together a map revealing the most uniquely searched Thanksgiving pies in every state. So nowhere on this list is even pumpkin.
New York.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is a couple.
New
So
York,
it's-
Rhode Island,
So it's specifically uniquely
or
searched.
it's Jersey.
Whatever's Google algo is for this article.
How is pumpkin pie anybody's most uniquely searched pie recipe?
I don't know. The whole thing is
Thanksgiving.
confusing. It says that it's uniquely searched data refers to pie varieties that showed a higher volume of searches in a given state compared to the country as a whole over the past month. So
I would be interested to know if I'm sure there's metrics on it. Are people, when they're Googling it, are they Googling like words like homemade and recipe with it? Or are they Googling like Marie calendars or a specific brand?
it's a good question.
That I would be interested in. Like, do they have anything that was like, oh yeah, people in Illinois are way more likely to Google Marie calendars versus a recipe?
I wonder if what they're trying to get after here is up and coming. Like this is the future. This is what the future pie map of the US is going to look like based on
No.
today's data.
No.
Eyes by AIs. don't even get us started on the map of potato dishes later in the article. This whole thing was written by a person called Caroline Baloney anyway. So I'm just going to say that this whole thing is garbage, and I'm going to stop talking now.
The whole thing is baloney.
I don't read articles by people whose name is baloney anymore.
They're trolling us. They're trolling us.
I think so.
Is this a Joe Dirt situation? And she's like, it's Bologna.
Oh, that's funny. So those are my thoughts.
I do love those articles, though. Keep them coming, because I do think, especially this time of the year,
I love
stereotype stuff like that with food is right up our alley. So.
I absolutely love these kinds of lists. And you know what, Amy? I would not have, if it wasn't for your personal outrage that you displayed for me, I wouldn't have wanted to bring up this article, because it'd be one. This is the kind of list that I like to bring to the show. This is one that I would have seen and would have immediately thrown out, because like, this is dumb. I'm going to find a different pie list.
There's got to be a better pie list.
But this one was so bad,
that
it bared mentioning. Butterscotch pie. Nobody's Googling butterscotch pie. This is stupid.
I'm not saying if it's sitting right beside a pumpkin pie that I'm not going to want a small piece. I'm just saying it's not the right answer.
It is so not the right answer. I like butterscotch. I'm one of those old souls who like shoe fly pie now, because I like molasses flavored things. It's up my alley. Hey, somebody got me Pastor Appreciation Month was last month, and somebody baked me like a plate full of molasses cookies, knowing I assume knowing that I like molasses, and they were spot on and marvelous. And one of my children liked them, which was
that's awesome.
But molasses
what
cookies.
What Kendall's saying is, if you want to go to Cracker Barrel and sit out front in the rocking chairs and talk for a while, he's your guy.
I'm game.
And if you find yourself in a convenience store in a small town next to a flea market, I'll be there.
Corey will be nodding off on the bench out front.
From the middle, three weird guys who like to sit in random places and look at people.
Oh, man.
Speaking of a place where people watching is typically awesome. So you guys know I've been into F1 for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The Las Vegas Grand Prix was this past weekend, and it was something else. So just a little background and context. I want you guys' thoughts on this as sports fans. This was announced 18 months to 2 years ago that the Formula One would be having a race in Las Vegas, and for 1 point whatever miles of it would be them driving down the Las Vegas Strip right in front of all the top casinos at 200 and whatever miles an hour. Super exciting. Tickets went on sale immediately. Astronomical prices for tickets. I have a friend in sports marketing for a well-known insurance company, and he was saying things like little corner cafes and sandwich shops and stuff that are on the strip were being rented out by millionaires and businesses for a couple $1 million just for the duration of the race, so that their friends and family or employees could sit and watch the race from this location. $500 million was invested. $500 million was invested by Formula One into this event. They have signed a contract for 10 years. So this was the first race for at least the next 10 years. Let me just tell you about the opening ceremony. There aren't even other opening ceremonies for other races, but there was an opening ceremony for this race because it's America and because it's Las Vegas. It was 45 minutes long just to announce the drivers.
Wow.
Here are the musical acts that were in the 45-minute driver introduction. 30 Seconds to Mars, Keith Urban, Andra Day, Kylie Minogue, the Blue Man Group, Bishop Briggs, Journey, Steve Aoki, J Balvin, Tiesto, the DJ, John Legend, and then will.i.am. They were on platforms that were scattered down the pit lane, and the artist would like emerge out of the platform, do literally a 2-minute, not even a full song, like one verse, part of their chorus, maybe a second chorus, and then disappear. And then the next platform over, somebody else would pop up and then disappear, just to do the driver introductions. The drivers, you've got Spanish, European, like all these different European.
Yeah, Spanish and European.
I know, sorry. I was going to start listing the countries they're from, and I'm like, just
I
go with
understand.
European.
I should have.
You've got these
not said
classy
I ran out
European,
after Spanish.
classy European second and third generation race car drivers of a certain class, and they're like, a couple of them are kind of rolling their eyes at the level of crazy that this is. They just like, put us in the car and let us race. This is so over the top and not what they're used to. The comments online of people like European race fans are watching this going, typical America. This is insane. Like, okay. So typically before a race, there's a couple practice sessions where they just get out and they just get the car up to speed on the track. In the first practice session, Carlos Sainz, one of the Ferrari drivers, is driving over down the main strip, and the engineers and people who were responsible for preparing the track could not have predicted the forces involved here. He drives his car over a water valve cover, and so much downforce is on the car, creating so much suction that like a giant thick metal cover of a water valve gets sucked up into the bottom of the car, knocking his car up in the air and back down, sparks flying everywhere. Everything gets canceled for the first practice session. The second practice session is going to be delayed. It's already happening, by the way, at like 10, 11 p.m., 12 a.m., because Las Vegas traffic has to function for the bulk of the actual regular business day. So they're already doing this stuff at like midnight and later. The second session was supposed to happen. They kick all the fans out because they can't risk debris and stuff flying into the stands. And now they've got to figure out a way to like reseal or cover somehow all these different manhole covers and water valve covers down the whole strip before they can resume this race. So just imagine the juxtaposition of this 45-minute, 12-band, crazy over-the-top thing. And then in the very first time the cars get on the track, which elicits a whole bunch of comments online. Typical Americans, they spend a lot of time on the window dressing and they don't spend the money and the man hours on the actual part of the event. And even the team principals were like, you guys, that's not the case. This was a freak thing. It even, the downforce of the car even sucked up the concrete around, the whole concrete that it was attached to around the valve cover. So they're like, this isn't something someone could have predicted. They've done a terrific job. Stop all the negative comments. Somebody said, this is a black spot on racing in America. And they're like, one driver got mad and he's like, it's not a black eye on racing in America. This has happened in other tracks before, especially street tracks that are used as actual roads. Anyway, they ended up fixing it. It ended up being a phenomenally entertaining event. It's the first of 10 years. It's only going to get better. But it was like Super Bowl level media and hype and enthusiasm and excitement. And it was a ton of fun to watch. Thoughts, reactions. Love to hear.
I mean, it sounds like they didn't ban outside bottles of water. So great start. Because I couldn't believe that news story when I heard it, that like whose idea was that? Although I did hear that like different parts of the city that would be able to view the race but weren't a part of the race audience, they had put up big like curtains and security guards and stuff to like not let people walk certain areas they could normally go to view the race. And there's a part of me that feels like that's just the benefit of if you're going to host it in a city. I always think of like the baseball stadiums that there's like houses and buildings past the outfield that happen to be able to look in and watch. Like that just feels like if you get to see it and you didn't pay, it's an outdoor concert. You get to hear it. You didn't pay. That's
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
benefit of choosing to do it in a venue like that.
Yeah.
And so that's my only thing. They had like tarped off things and had security forcing people to keep moving so that they wouldn't sit and try to watch the race while it was happening. That's the only thing bad press that I heard about it. As far as the typical American whatever, thank you. That's so nice of me to say. And I did see at one point I think the sphere they turned it into an emoji that was like they had the eyes like trying to track with the cars as they were going by. So it looked like as much fun as they could make it, they did because it was in Vegas. And so I don't know what kind of group deal they got on having all the musicians play less than 5 minutes. But it feels like the part of the office where Michael can't afford the whole classy band. So he just hires a cello for the whole day. Feels like there was some kind of weird deal where it's like, if we play less than 5 minutes, we don't have to get our normal charges. So good for them. It sounds like they made it really fun for everyone.
Well, I now put together, because we talked about the Sphere in a previous episode on this show when U2 opened it up on its opening night. They rushed that to get it done by this race, and the ways that they used it creatively during the race was actually really fun. That was a $2.2 or $2.3 billion venue that they rushed to get done just by the Grand Prix, which I already said was $500 million invested just from F1. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So it is funny. The $500 million just from F1, it tells you that like the fan they're trying to get into the US market, right? That's the F1 trying to do that. And like and then yes, there's American investors who are heavy stakeholders in this thing being successful as well. But like that's one thing that like the international audience, I feel like America is polarizing to a lot of the world. And so it's just really easy. Like people want to hate America. And like that's what's going on there, right? That's why like things that happened, even though they've happened at other racetracks, for whatever reason, it's a much bigger deal because it happened in America. I think that some of that sentiment is illegit, but I think they fail to recognize that like, no, F1 is trying to get into the American market. A lot of this cash that's being invested into this thing, into the fanfare, was because F1 was trying to get it marketed correctly to America. And quite frankly, a lot of America did not know that this was happening.
Yeah.
And so maybe the fanfare wasn't even enough.
Yeah, that's well said. I found it interesting though that after it was all said and done and they fixed the issues on the track, a lot of the drivers ended up saying, and the teams were like, this has set a new bar for like what's possible with the enthusiasm and energy. They admitted it's peripheral stuff. Like at the end of the day, it's a race, but like in terms of the enthusiasm and excitement around it, this is by far the biggest. I mean, races in Europe are like they're a big deal, many of them, but a lot of them are like, these are primarily race courses that host all kinds of different types of race cars. People go, it's a weekend at the track, and then they go home, like in other parts of the world, South America, and then the Far East. But yeah, it was really fun to watch. And maybe they should have done like a care emoji on the sphere.
So, I mean, really, it's somebody that was a kid when Cruisin' World came out on like Sega Genesis, and now they're old enough to actually play in it with adult money, and they did it. So this was Cruisin' World Las Vegas level, and they put on a show. Good for them.
Yep. Anyway, what are you guys watching?
Oh, I can blitz through some stuff quick. Matt Rife, Natural Selection on Netflix. Turn that off. So feel free to skip it. Did enjoy it. It's very actually. I'll preface. I'd only seen a lot of his crowd work on Reels. That's how part of how he got really popular.
Mhm.
And it is very much a shock and awe thing. It's weird that the audience claps along to more of his jokes than they actually laugh along to most of his jokes. And so I don't know. It almost at times felt more like it was like, the Daily Show, or like Hassan Minaj, not stand up, but like his show that he did for Netflix, where people are like, "Oh yeah, you're right," but it's not funny, but you're right, like what you're saying. So it was fine. It's shock and awe. If that interests you, go watch it. It doesn't bother me. I didn't enjoy it. But I don't think he's not talented. I just think this wasn't his batch of jokes. Like, this wasn't the right special. I don't think that's what you want to go watch him do.
You want to watch him do crowd work.
Well, not that. Anthony Jeselnik already exists. Like Tosh.0, that like Daniel Tosh already exists. I think those guys do that well. I don't need somebody else to do the same thing that they already do. Like, I guess at one point he had like followed Ralphie May, like Ralphie May had mentored him a little bit. Ralphie May is funny. Like Ralphie May does traditional stand-up is funny. There was some shock and awe to Ralphie May, but not like this. This was like, so if that's what his shtick is going to be, that's fine. It's just not for me. But I'd love to see him do something different that doesn't just feel like he's trying to offend the audience and then go, but I'm a comic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're here and you paid for my show.
Which tells you that we're fair and truly centrist, because he's born in Columbus, lived in North Lewisburg and New Albany and Mount Vernon. So he's from literally where we live and work and play. So, and wears Ohio State jerseys to a lot of his sets.
Yeah. And I watch a lot of stand up. The reason that I'm commenting on him specifically is because he's so popular right now. I feel like it was worth watching it because other people might be thinking the same thing. It's not that I love all stand up and just not his. There's a lot of stand up that I don't enjoy. There's a lot that I do enjoy. His just happens to be some at this moment that I don't enjoy. But I also, Taylor Tomlinson wasn't my speed when she was new and just getting on some of her early specials. And she's grown on me a lot since some of her earlier stuff. So
you both bring up a good point about his crowd work, because when comedians started figuring out that stuff gets shared, they're like, I can't have my jokes going viral because then that's the bulk of my material. But I can share my crowd work because it's different every time. And those are good bite-sized chunks. And so I wonder if there's going to be a large swath of people who know him on social media because of his crowd work, watch this special and go, oh my gosh, clutch my pearls.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys end up watching it, I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, I think we watched about 20 minutes of it and they're like, not for us.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was one. The Crown back for its final season. We watched the first part 2 hits Netflix on December 14th. So instead of dropping the whole season all at once, they're dropping it in 2 big parts. We watched the first chunk, really good. This is really like Princess Diana now, like wrapping up her portion, is where they were going to end the show. And so that's really what the first chunk is about. Loki season 2, fantastic. One of the best story arcs in the entire season 2. And as Kendall likes to say, honestly, this time though, big implications for some of what's happening with the multiverse. But seriously, character arc wise, I don't know that anyone has had now a better, more complete arc than Loki of any character. Prominent character, certainly, that they've shown. And welcome to Wrexham. Season 2 just finished. Season 3 is coming in 2024. And it was really cool to kind of see the tail end of the last episode. They sort of tie some of Wrexham's main rival, Notts County. They sort of tie a little bit of their story and weave it into the Wrexham story because they're like point and point. or like point, like very close neck and neck is what I meant, in points. And like no team normally has to get like 100 points in their soccer season to get promoted. And both of them are like over 100. It's coming down to like the last games. Like no race has ever been like this in any league of English soccer. And they're
Wow.
like, there's a chance that one of them doesn't get promoted when they've both had incredible seasons. So it's cool. You get a little bit of that story woven in to the end of Wrexham up to what'll be season 3 next year. So really good. Lots of great stuff to watch. Would definitely recommend all the show stuff that's going on. And it was nice to watch. I don't know if we talked about this at the beginning of Loki. Final thought there. This has been one of the shows, if you're still interested in kind of what's going on, this show felt a little different because it was one of the big characters. We went back to a story about a big character. I know some of the smaller characters, you're unsure of how they weave into the bigger plot. We've all been waiting a long time to get pieces put together again, like the Avengers movies did for us. I found this one a little easier to watch because I'm like, oh, this is Loki. He's been there since Thor, since the first Avengers. Like, this is a big character. Even when I didn't know where the show was going, it felt easier to watch.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be a lot of pretty big drop off in people watching all the MCU stuff until they do another Avengers movie, until there's another Spider-Man movie. I think at this point, it's only going to be the biggest heroes that draw big numbers and big box office. The Marvels isn't doing well at all. People don't know the characters well enough. They haven't had enough time with those three that kind of lead the Marvels movie. So it's really good. If there's anything you'd want to watch, Loki season 2 is really cool. If you're into kind of the multiverse storyline at all. So that's some of the stuff I've been watching.
Yeah, we're enjoying it with the kids on Pizza Friday nights. Kendall, over to you.
The only update I have on streaming is watched Violent Night, as it's available to stream this season, and I've wanted to watch it, and now here we are, and I I love that film exists. It is a very good mix of horror film and action comedy. It's a good one. It's a good one. It has some gore. So if you don't, I would recommend it for the people who like tongue-in-cheek comedy and action films. And I think just in that kind of niche of a genre, it plays in spades. But you have to be okay with the gore of a horror movie because it has that too. And so the gore is the only thing that makes it a horror movie. Otherwise, it's an action comedy. That is so tongue-in-cheek and beautifully done. It's not so tongue-in-cheek that it's like all outright, like I forget what they were called, like the Scream parodies that came out,
Yeah,
and those kinds of things. It's more in line with Scream itself, and that like it does kind of poke some fun at itself a little bit, or a lot maybe even, but it also has its own more legit storyline that you can follow. It's great. I love the characters, like some choices that were made on it. Just people need to see it. I feel like we talked quite a bit about Home Alone last week, and there's a lot of Home Alone referencing in that film.
And where's that one streaming for people that don't like to Google?
I rented it on Prime.
Oh, Prime. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did Amy watch that one with you?
No, she didn't.
Well, I couldn't have asked for a better segue because there's two parts there. David Harbour, who plays Santa in that movie, is also the coach in the movie Gran Turismo, the real life story about Jan Mardenborough, which, if you don't know the premise of Gran Turismo, this is based on a real story of somebody getting the clever idea, hey, we've got all these gamers and simulator players from around the world. Let's see if we take the best of those, see if they're any good at actual racing. And Jan Mardenborough was a college dropout who was trying to find his passion in life, and he really loved the video game Gran Turismo, won the contest to become one of the finalists in this driving competition to see if they could teach these guys how to actually drive. The actor that plays the real life guy that trained those kids is David Harbour. So that's that. The other piece of Kendall's recommendation is the horror genre. And I watched 2 horror genre movies that are more what I would call unsettling, disturbing horror movies, not like gory jump scare. And it's the Ari Aster movies. Hereditary is his breakout, most famous one. And then Midsummer. And those were very weird, very good. I had been hearing so much about Hereditary from, excuse me, some of the podcasters that I enjoy, that I was like, all right, I have to finally watch this. And it was every bit as unsettling and disturbing as they said. I really don't mind. It could be the darkest, most evil, demonic stuff. That stuff doesn't really bother me. I just don't like jump scares. I just don't like jump scares. I just don't want the jump scares.
Yeah.
There are kind of a couple in this, but Ari's style is really more that of just like really disturbing, long, lingering, uncomfortable scenes and weird freak things happening in the background. Less jump scary and more like that human shouldn't move in that way. That's really weird type stuff. And then Midsummer is a Florence Pugh. She's the lead in that, and that was great. It's a weird cult in Sweden, and I won't even get to it. So we talked about getting on the kick of like watching a certain director and then watching a couple of their movies. So that's kind of the kick I was on. And then lastly, can't recommend it enough. All the Light We Cannot See on Netflix. World War II love story, love between parent and child, love between romantic couple during World War II, the fall of Hitler, all that stuff going on. Great, very great limited series. I think just like 4 episodes on Netflix. Definitely go check that out. It's one that you can watch with your beloved over the Thanksgiving break, and not have to go in the weird other room to watch horror movies by yourself.
Okay. So I have a question about Midsummer and Hereditary.
Yeah.
I've seen Midsummer. Amy and I watched that one together and both regretted it. Not because it just not because it like gave us the creeps. It did. But because like it was, I don't know, one of those where it's like, why did they make that? Like it was, I wouldn't watch it again, and I've never recommended it to anybody. But
yeah,
did
you hear a recommendation curious. In there? Okay.
No, I didn't. Okay. It makes me curious though about Hereditary. Does Hereditary have the same kind
similar vibes in that? And this is not, don't take this the wrong way. There's what's going on in the surface of his movies, and then there's the deep symbolism that is it's the story underneath the crazy stuff happening on the surface.
Yeah.
Right. And so if the theme of Midsummer is, and without giving it anything away, Florence Pugh's boyfriend in the movie, at the beginning of the movie, he's distant, he's a jerk, he's just trying to figure out ways to break up with her. And then she discovers that as scary and terrifying and weird as this Swedish cult is, they actually have great empathy for one another, and they cry when another cries, and they celebrate when another celebrates. It's all about the idea of community and you never being alone. So like on the surface, it's this very bizarre, absurd, weird Swedish cult movie. But the real theme is like togetherness and feeling like you're supported and loved, as crazy as those people might be. And the juxtaposition of her jerk boyfriend with the ways that the cult, quote unquote, loved her in her time of need. So Hereditary is that way too. It's got like the crazy weird stuff happening on the surface, and then deep themes about things that are passed down in our families and sins of the father type concepts. Way underneath a very weird cult demon story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It makes me curious. I guess Midsummer, if nothing else, makes me curious enough to probably watch Hereditary at some point.
Yeah. So anyway, I liked Hereditary a lot better than Midsummer. Midsummer was pretty trippy. But yeah, Hereditary, very scary. I don't know. I haven't watched a horror movie in like a couple years, and I was like in the mood for some back-to-back.
There you go, man. You've got the kick. You got a kick on it.
So this one's been a little longer, but it's been really fun. We hope that all of you enjoy time with family over the holiday. Get a good family football game out in the outside in, and then come in for that second round of food after you've already had the big feast. That's always a good time. Just want to shout out our sponsors, Artiest Man, who make amazing, natural, locally made men's grooming products, as well as like really good soy blend woodwick candles, and all kinds of different things to stay clean and smelling good. Check them out at artiestman.com. That's ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code the middle, all one word, all caps, the middle at checkout to get 25%, almost a quarter off of your first order, and all subsequent orders will be sort of credited to us, which helps us out. It helps you out because you'll get great stuff, and it helps out a really cool local company. So thanks, Artiest Man. Anything else, guys?
No, sir.
Don't forget to get yourself a big old piece of butterscotch pie.
Yeah, that's right. Here in Ohio, we us and our butterscotch pie.
You know how we love it.
Yep. Go Lions.
Go Bucks. Bye.